Hi, welcome to Lachlan Likes a Thing, a show where I take a thing and see whether or not I like it. Now the thing we're looking at in this video is the Philips Fidelio L1 semi-open around ear portable headphones. Now like the Philips Fidelio S2 in-ears that I looked at in an earlier video, this is part of Philips' new line of premium personal audio products. Now at the time I'm making this review, the Fidelio L2 has already been announced and that's the replacement for this headphone. But I still think it's worth taking a look at the L1 just in case in the next couple of months some really awesome clearance prices start popping up. Now I got my pair on eBay from an authorized Australian reseller for around $199 and I think it's going for around that price on Amazon as well. So in this review, we're going to have a look at the build quality and design of this headphone, and then we're going to have a look at the sound quality and how it compares to some other kind of similar portable headphones like the Sony MDR1R and the Sennheiser Momentum. So let's take a closer look. Now as you can see, Philips has gone with the same kind of semi-retro design language with the L1 that's carried through the entire lineup of Fidelio earphones and headphones, and it's quite charming. In terms of actual materials used, we have plastic parts for the ear cups themselves, aluminium metal for the exposed headband parts, and this chunky kind of synthetic leather headband part here, and also synthetic leather for the ear pads. Now, in terms of build quality, it's quite an impressively put together headphone for the price. Build quality is quite nice. If there was one criticism I had to make about this design, it's that the headphone overall feels a little overbuilt. I think they might have gone a bit too fancy with some of the headband mechanisms. And I think this is kind of reflected in the weight of this headphone. This is about a 270 gram headphone, which is quite heavy for a portable headphone, especially compared to something like the Sennheiser Momentum, which weighs in at something like 200 grams. We'll get into what that means for wearing comfort in a second, but I do think the design is just a little bit excessive. In terms of a cable, Philips has gone with this kind of interesting arrangement where the headphone cable is detachable partway along the length. So this is like the Sennheiser Momentum actually. So the cable detaches halfway. You get two cables in the box. You get a iPhone remote cable and you also get a standard cable, and it terminates in a straight angle jack, which is something to look out for because the cable will stick out of your pocket. Now the cable that Philips has gone with is quite a nice braided cable with a fabric coating, though it is a little bit heavier than your standard headphone cable. Now the other thing really important to note about this headphone is that it is a semi-open headphone. You can see the grill at the back, which means that it will let in some sound and it will leak some sound. And if absolute isolation is a priority for you, then you can pretty much skip the L1 because it's not going to be nearly as isolating as some of the sealed headphones on the market. But if you're interested in something that's going to let in a bit of sound, let you have a bit of awareness of your surroundings, this might be something to look at. Now in terms of wearing comfort, I don't find the L1 as comfortable as other around ear headphones on the market like the Sony MDR1R and the Sennheiser Momentum. And that's partly a combination of the weight of the L1 and also because the kind of ear pads they've chosen with the L1, the inside foam on the actual ear pad itself is a little denser and the ear pad isn't quite as soft or compressible. And so I find that when you wear the L1, it doesn't quite disappear on the head. You do feel quite a decent amount of clamping pressure. It feels very secure, but it doesn't disappear on the head entirely. One plus side with the L1 is because of the semi-open ear cups, they are a little more breathable than your average closed headphone. So in hot weather, that's going to be a bit of a plus. Now in terms of sound, some of you regular subscribers to my channel suggested that I should check out the L1 because I might really like the kind of warm, relaxed signature it has. And I agree up to a point. I mean, definitely the L1 has a very mellow, relaxed signature. It's very warm and definitely quite a good all-rounder that works with all kinds of musical genres. In terms of high frequencies, it's somewhat rolled off without sounding too congested. In terms of bass, it's quite thumpy and kind of a rich bass response. And overall, in terms of signature, it most reminds me of the Logitech UE6000, which I owned for a while, but that was unfortunately before I started making YouTube videos. It also reminds me of the Sony MDR1R, which I don't have on hand anymore to compare directly with the L1, but one thing is the L1 definitely has more of a rich bass response. Now, if there were criticisms I had to make about the L1 sound, one thing is that overall there's a bit of haze or a graininess to the sound of the L1 that is most apparent in vocals. It's somewhat nasal and dry, and it's not quite as clean sounding as other headphones on the market today, like the Audio-Technica ES700 or the Sennheiser Inferior or the Sennheiser Momentum. The other criticism I had to make about the sound is that at times the bass can sound a little thumpy and a little loose, and I think that's somewhat to do with the semi-open design of this headphone. Now, in terms of sound staging, it's quite funny. With the L1, even though it's a semi-open headphone, it still sounds quite intimate because the high frequencies are rolled off. And the other strange thing is I found I actually enjoyed the sound of the L1 a little more when I would actually seal off the semi-open vents, and that would give it just a bit more of a tight sound. I mean, it wasn't quite as open anymore, but it sounded less diffuse. And so I'm not quite sure why Philips decided to go with this semi-open design. I do prefer the sound of the sealed version of the L1 if such a thing existed. So overall, in terms of design and sound quality, the L1 is a nice headphone, but for me, just like with the S2, it doesn't quite hit it out of the park with me as a complete package. And I do prefer something like the Sennheiser Momentum or the Sony MDR-1R. Now that said, I would recommend the L1 to anyone who is specifically after a headphone with a semi-open design, just so that they're going to have a bit more of an awareness of what's going on around them. There's not that many headphones that are like the L1, and so it kind of stands out as one of the better options. And the other thing to note is that if the L1 starts popping up for crazy clearance prices in the next couple of months as the L2 is introduced, I would quite happily recommend it. I mean, if it was something like $100, $150, you know, I would think it's a bit of a no-brainer, so keep your eye out for that. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. Please click the like button if this has helped you. Thanks to everyone who's liked my other videos and subscribed to my channel. You can talk to me on Facebook at facebook.com/LachlanLikesAthing, or you can tweet to me at LachLikesAthing. Happy listening.